Hello, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a careful look at the story surrounding the U.S. military raid in Venezuela and the strong reaction from Democrats who say they were misled about the operation. The event has become one of the most debated moments in recent politics, not only because of what happened on the ground, but because of the way it was explained to lawmakers and the public. The mission resulted in the capture of Venezuela's leader, and it was presented as precise, fast, and highly coordinated. From the outside, it appeared to be a powerful demonstration of military reach and planning, but the deeper questions that followed have created a wave of tension in Washington and around the world. From the broader political view, the story feels like something unfolding in layers. At first, it looked like a straightforward military action targeting what the administration described as threats linked to crime and security. But as details emerged, members of Congress said they realized the plan went much further than what they were initially briefed about. They argue that despite being told the mission would be limited in scope, it ultimately resembled an attempt to reshape leadership in another country. This is where the claim that they lied to our face took root, because lawmakers believe they were kept in the dark about the real objectives. The result is not just outrage, but a renewed debate over who gets to decide when and how military force is used. Inside Washington, emotions are intense and distrust is growing. Democratic leaders are openly questioning whether constitutional limits were ignored. They say the administration's explanation shifted over time and that critical details were withheld until after the operation was completed. For them, the issue isn't only what happened, but how it happened and what it means for future decisions about war and peace. The short and sharp takeaway from their perspective is simple. They believe transparency was sacrificed, and they're demanding accountability. When people talk about how this operation performed, they usually mean whether it achieved its stated objectives. Militarily, the mission was effective in capturing its target with relatively limited American casualties reported. Strategically, however, the performance is being judged more harshly. Critics argue that success on the battlefield doesn't automatically equal success in the long run. They say the operation may have created diplomatic backlash, fueled resentment in the region, and weakened the trust between the executive branch and Congress. Supporters counter that the result was necessary, decisive, and justified, but the political cost of achieving it continues to mount. Another important part of the discussion involves the risks surrounding the operation, similar to thinking about safety considerations. One concern is legal risk. If major military actions can be launched without Congress being fully involved, then future presidents might feel empowered to act unilaterally. Another concern is international risk. Other countries might view this as a sign that leadership changes can be enforced by outside powers, which could destabilize regions and spark retaliatory actions. There is also the human risk. Military operations always carry the possibility of civilian casualties, unintended consequences, and long-term hardship for local populations. These risks create moral questions that do not disappear after a mission is declared successful. What makes this entire moment stand out is how many big themes collide in one story. It combines national security, international law, political honesty, and constitutional authority. It forces people to think about how much secrecy is acceptable in national defense, and where the line should be drawn between protecting information and keeping elected representatives informed. It challenges the idea that capturing a controversial leader automatically means the action was justified, because the means, the process, and the lack of consultation are now being scrutinized just as closely as the result. When people ask, what did it cost? The answer isn't just financial. The price includes strained relationships in Congress, suspicion among allies, anger from opponents, and uncertainty about what comes next in Venezuela itself. There is also the cost to public trust. When citizens hear that lawmakers were possibly misled, it shapes how they view institutions and leaders. Rebuilding that trust takes time, and repeated incidents can turn skepticism into cynicism. Even those who believe the mission was morally right worry that the way it was handled might set a precedent that weakens democratic oversight in the future. As we step back, one truth becomes clear. This moment is not just about one raid. It is about trust between branches of government, respect for constitutional roles, and the unpredictable consequences of force. Democrats are demanding explanations and accountability because they fear that silence today could justify even bigger actions tomorrow. Supporters of the raid believe decisive leadership is sometimes necessary and unavoidable. Both sides agree on one thing, though: what happened will shape future conversations about military power, oversight, and honesty at the highest levels of government. In the end, the story is still unfolding. The operation achieved its tactical aim, but it opened emotional, political, and ethical debates that will not fade quickly. The challenge now is not only to understand what happened, but to decide what lessons should be learned from it. Whether it becomes remembered as a bold success or a dangerous overreach will depend on transparency, accountability, and how leaders handle the consequences moving forward. And as always, the world is watching closely, waiting to see what the next chapter will bring.